What's up, good people? So, I'm going to share one of my voice recordings with you guys. This is before I had got the camera and started really going crazy with that. Um, Basically, this is a story I told about a year or two ago about how I was born different and basically how it was for me growing up different. So, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening and hit that subscribe button and go ahead. Tell me how you feel in the comments. When you look up the definition of different, it says not of the same as another or each other, unlike in nature, form, or quality. Now, from the moment I opened my big brown eyes on September 10th, 92, it was no surprise that I was a different child. For one, I had my first menstrual cycle and I was only a day old, if that, and my hair was attached to my eyebrows. Now, the first thing I noticed about me being different was that I had hair on my arms and legs, and other kids didn't have that. So I got bullied for that. And I had a little mustache on my upper lip. You ain't see things like that except for in boys when they start hitting puberty. But it was different in my case. Next thing was the wild burst of energy and the short attention span. Now, we all know kids are hyper. You give them candy, they get even more hyper. But let's just say mine was a bit much. But I couldn't help that. According to my family, I was talkative, I was sweet, I was social, but I also spent a lot of time by myself. My attention span could take me from one subject to another during a conversation. Now, I was spoiled. I was everybody's baby. Let my mother tell it. I ran the daycare. If I didn't want to do it, then nobody did it. Why? Because Dominique had her way and I was everybody's baby. Now, when I got to first grade, this was a challenge for me. I was at Margaret Island. My brother was there with me. And I got placed into a quote unquote special group. This group met a couple of times out the week. But let's just say the teachers, they couldn't handle me. And they were very short when it came to my attention span, my hyperness, the random things I would do. So it got to the point that the lady who would pick us up those 3 times out the week, she stopped taking me with her. Now, I'm not sure how this came about, but I guess the teachers were having a conference amongst each other and they linked me and my brother together by our last name. So they came up with the concept of if Dominique is acting up in class, send her on up to my brother's class. My brother had a female teacher who got my ass together every trip. But y'all got to remember, I'm a kid. I don't understand what I'm doing. I'm just being a kid. I'm just being me the only way I know how to be me. Sometimes, even when it was a situation that wasn't my fault, I got sent to my brother's class. And when I would arrive in the doorway, I would maybe have a smile on my face. The teacher, she would start yelling at me. And my brother, he would just sit there and look at me and shake his head. Me and him were the exact opposite. He wasn't a bad kid. He had good friends. His teacher liked him. Me, I barely had friends. My teachers couldn't stand me, and I just always kept getting into trouble. So there came a time where my mother decided to come up to the school and talk to my teacher, and they're going over my report card. And when I tell you this lady looked so damn embarrassed and stressed out, meanwhile, my little ass is in my own world, thinking of what toys I'm about to play with when I get home, what game I'm about to play, what movie or whatever I'm about to watch. Daydreaming. The teacher snaps me out of it and goes, "Look at your report card." Mind you, I still didn't care because I didn't understand what was going on. I just want to go home. The only game that got played that day was a game called Tear That Ass Up. I'll let y'all use that imagination. So when the school year ended, it was decided that I was going to take my ass to summer school. So, guess what happened in summer school? Same fucking thing. The teacher was over my shit, could not keep up with me, so I got kicked out of the class at least 2 to 3 times a week. And I would always have to spend the day with the security guard. Now, the thing about the security guard, me and this lady, we would have the best conversations. I don't know what it was about me and adults, but I found it interesting to talk to them, and I didn't really give a damn about what my peers was talking about. I don't know, adult conversations just seem really interesting and cool. So after summer school was over with, here we go to the first day of school. My mother looked at me and she goes, "You repeating the first grade." This whole time I'm thinking I'm going to the second grade. I'm excited, I'm pumped, and I don't know that I'm going to be repeating the first grade until the first day of school. I was very embarrassed. I was made fun of by my classmates who were now in second grade. Let my mother tell it. Apparently, I did pass the first grade. They just said I wouldn't make it if they would pass me on to the second. So I needed to repeat a year. So this time, my teacher was female. She didn't like me. And she wasn't afraid to show that she didn't like me. Now, besides me having a low attention span, my sloppy ass handwriting, my biggest enemy at that time was one word: math. I couldn't add or subtract to save my life. Now, most adults will say stuff like this is just a phase, you'll get it, blah, blah, blah. But no, my issue with math followed me in my entire life. I still have issues with it to this day. It was so bad that my sister used to have to sneak and do my math homework for me. Now, when we would do our math lessons in class, I would either cry or I'll put my head down on the desk and I'll say I just can't do it. Now, when other teachers would come to the classroom just to chat with my teacher, she would either point my direction or shake her head and just gossip about me. I even overheard her talking about me one time going, she just puts her head down on and says, "I can't do it. Oh, and you should see how small she writes." Now, I'm already getting bullied by kids because of how hairy I am and my mustache. So imagine your teacher is giving you hell as well. I felt trapped and I just didn't understand why everyone hated me so much. So, this teacher used to do this thing where if your name tag didn't get flipped over, you could come back to the classroom and play during lunchtime. I only got chose one time. And that one time, she looked at me with a look of disgust and I said, "You didn't turn my name tag over." And she goes, "Oh, yeah, I forgot." But she let me come down there anyways. So while we're laughing and playing with these toys, doing things that first graders do, she decides to go on my desk and look in my folder and she's like, "Oh, you have a lot of work that needs to be done, so you can stop playing and come over here." So if that was the case, if that's what you were going to do, you shouldn't have never let me come back to class in the first place. Yeah, this lady did not like me. So it's basically obvious that I never got to come back to class during lunch again. It became a survival thing with her. Another thing is people hated the lack of impulse control. Now we know little boys do random dumb stuff, but I did too. I've taken a water bottle and I would just pour the water all over me. This was when I was a little kid and I was at my godmom's house. I snuck a radio to school in kindergarten class and started playing music randomly during a drawing lesson. The list could go on and on. But the final piece of me noticing that I was different was that I was staring at little girls the way boys were. Girls were supposed to like boys, right? That was different in my case. The first time I seen a woman wearing men's clothing, it was in the Sweet Dreams video. And I like the fact that Annie Lennox had on a suit and she looked so good doing it. I loved boys' clothes. Whenever we would go shopping, I was in the boys section looking at their clothes. Easter Sunday, I'm staring at these men and these boys in these suits, imagining what I would look like wearing this. I was already getting called gay as it was because I was a tomboy and I had a mustache. Now the boys loved me because I liked everything they did. When Christmas time came, all my toys were boy toys. Clothes, on the other hand, we know they came from the girl section. I had no say over that. Whenever it came down to playing house, I've heard this from a lot of studs. Whenever it came down to that, I played daddy. But when I first came out the closet, man, did all hell break loose. Now, by the time I was a teenager, I had a pretty small friend group. I was losing friends left and right. Nobody kind of wanted to deal with that, hyper, loud teen. I wasn't really into the same stuff as the girls was. They're into boys and I'm into girls. I never really got invited to anything because I guess nobody really wanted me around. So I used to have to ear hustle at school to listen to the fun that they had over the weekend. You know, at this time, my only best friends were my drumsticks, but that's a story for another podcast. Um, it was it was very lonely. You know what I'm saying? To be the eyeball out, even when you try not to be. I had grew a temper because I was tired of the bullying, the name calling. I was tired of all that. This is when my alter ego was born. Rico Royale. Most of you guys know that name if you grew up with me or you see it all over my social media. At the age 14, we went to the doctor and found out that I was producing more testosterone in my body than the average female should. This made them give me birth control pills. I was embarrassed about it and I had to take it for a whole year. At the age of 21, my goatee decided to show itself. Looking back on all this at the age of 30, it just makes me realize that teachers did not have proper training on handling kids with special needs or any type of mental illness or disorder. They didn't, so all they knew was to be mean. Now, a lot of people, when I tell my story, they say just get over it, blah, blah, blah. But no, your childhood shapes your adult structure, and letting things go is easier said than done. If you are interested in doing a interview with me on sharing your story about being different, feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to open up a comment section. I'm going to open up the voice message section. And if you have not already, do me a favor and go follow the Dom Live and Uncut Instagram page. It is up. And you guys just give me your opinions on this. I'm new to this, so let me know what you want to hear more of. Let me know what you want to do, and let's go from there.